Hi folks, today's video was requested by a friend of mine. He wants to see detail stripping on a model 1911. This particular one is just an old Rock Island Armory, probably about 15 years old. It's got a kind of off green Cerakote, some old GI grips on it. Had it a while, kind of a fun little pistol. And in taking it apart, doing this detail strip, I'm going to show you how I do it with no tools, because on a mass-produced kind of interchangeable part pistol like this one is, it can actually be done with no tools. It's very much modern in that way, that aside from just these grip panels, basically, you can do it just by hand. So we'll start by field stripping it. Just pull out the plunger by rotating clockwise on the barrel bushing. Slide back. Slide stop comes out. That all comes off the front. Coming back here, I'm going to take my thumb and put it behind the gun, because the spring is going to come out when I pull the safety off. Move the safety into the halfway position approximately. Trying to do this for the camera, I can't find my sweet spot. Right there. A little plunger for the safety, which also on the other end is for the slide stop. Detent comes out. From there, we can go ahead and decock. Grip safety kind of just wiggles out. I'm going to take the safety pin portion of it and just start pushing out the hammer pin. Hammer pin comes out, hammer comes out. At this point, I need to get the main spring housing off. To do that, I actually just use the bottom of the hammer strut. And it takes a little bit of force, but if you just put it on there, you can push it all the way through. Pops out. Main spring housing slides down, just like so. Your spring back here, that is for the trigger, for the disconnect, and for the grip safety, just lifts out. And take a hammer strut again and just push on this pin. All these pins go right to left. And when it comes out, that is for your sear and disconnect. I'm going to take the spring, come here to the right side of the frame where the magazine catch is at. I'm going to push in a little bit on the magazine catch. I'm going to take the portion of the spring that pushes back on the grip safety. I'm going to stick it into this screw. Try to do this without blocking the view of it. And while pushing in on the grip, or the magazine release, turn counterclockwise, about a quarter turn. Magazine release comes out. Trigger falls out the back. Remove the guide rod and spring, pulling out the rear. These come apart if you're so inclined. Barrel bushing, clockwise. Pull out the front. Barrel slides out the front of the slide. Coming to the back here, I again take my hammer strut. I push in on the firing pin and start sliding the retaining plate down. I put my finger over it. Retaining plate comes out. Firing pin comes out. Spring comes off of it if you're so inclined. Then hammer strut again. I get just underneath the extractor here and kind of pry it back. gently. It's a pretty tight fit in this one. A little bit more. There it is. You want to be careful with these extractors because they are very exactly tensioned and you don't want to damage them. That's pretty much it. Need a screwdriver if we want to get the grips off, but there's no reason to do that. They're doing fine. Putting it back together, I'm going to start on the frame actually, because I'm going to need the firing pin near the end of this. Or it makes it easier. Anyway, you don't really need it. It makes it easier. Trigger, going back in, you have to make sure the angle is right, that it follows the frame on the back side there. That's in. We can put in the magazine catch. This, you can take it down a little bit further if you'd like to, where we're going to put spring in there, turn clockwise, and then that will come out, a little latch, and the spring within it. I'm going to lose it. Be careful. Hands are a little bit oily. And it locks back in like that. Really simple mechanism. Nice design on that. Because I think people forget, these are originally a military pistol, not a finely fitted competition gun. They're made to have interchangeable parts. They're made to be worked on. Your disconnect and sear orientate like this. This kind of spur, which is your sear itself, kind of goes up and back. The disconnect, this angled portion of it here, goes towards the rear of the gun. This comes up through the frame. Just like so. You'll see it protrude there. You want to get those kind of lined up as best you can. It's a little tricky. This is the hard part of this whole operation. Get those lined up as best you can. Take their pin from left to right, because it's a headed pin that goes in, and those are in place where they need to be, just like that. Start back in with your little triple spring there, little flat spring. Lay it on there. Mainspring housing comes back in, slides up, line up about right. There's a little detemp ball in there. Push this on, and it'll go in about halfway fairly easily. Once I get it there, I just kind of tap on the edge of the bench if it doesn't fall back out. Yeah. So you couldn't see me do that, but I just tapped on the edge of the bench to seat it all the way. If you had a small brass hammer or something, you could do that too. Hammer. You have to make sure that you hit the little plunger for the mainspring within the mainspring housing. Come back in with it. You're going to be in sort of a decock position doing this, because what you need to do is sort of push it in from the back side, and the hammer pin left to right will go in and just kind of give it a little wiggle. Until it finds its spot, just like that. Grip safety. Kind of start from the bottom, angling it sort of like this, and there it is. Take your little slide stop detent, and the safety detent, the one that's tapered, goes in first. Put it in. Now, I'm actually going to take the firing pin. I'm going to get the safety back here, going in to where it's going to hold in the grip safety. I'm just going to take the firing pin and very gently just get that, cock the hammer. Very gently just push forward on that plunger so that goes back together. You want to be careful doing that so you don't break the firing pin or bend it or anything like that, but we're trying to show how to do this with no tools, so that's what we got to do. Coming back to the slide, take the extractor, put it into its little hole there, and we're just going to push him down in. And you want to kind of line this up where the retaining plate can fit in nice and easily. Spring back on the firing pin in the back. Get the retaining plate on here. In this case, I'm going to use slide stop to just push down the firing pin to make it easier for me. Not exactly lined up right. Got my extractor too far in. 1 second, folks. Just going to push it back a little bit from the front. Now it should go in for us. Trying to hurry to not make this video too long, and I'm making mistakes. Pop it down. Retaining plate pops back on. Barrel back in. Barrel bushing in all the way in the counterclockwise position. Turn it back clockwise. Barrel link up. Recoil spring and guide rod in. Barrel link up to the back of that. Hammer's cocked, safety's off. Slide goes on until we see the link lined up in there. Start, slide stop in, pull back until the little takedown notch is lined up. Don't idiot scratch the frame, maintain control of the part. Put it in. Slide forward, safety on. Plunger in, push down. All I like to do is when I get started on the edge there, push down extra hard to make sure I don't scratch up the front of the plunger. That's all there is to it. Pretty simple. You know, you can do it. If it's a mass-produced gun that isn't really finely fitted, you can take these down to pretty much nothing with just using the gun itself as the tools. Pretty clever and ingenious design for the year 1911. 110 years old, and a lot of things now still aren't made with that much forethought and just clever design, clever engineering. So hope you found this interesting. If you didn't find it helpful, because really you probably want to use punches and screwdrivers and things to do this most of the time, but I thought I'd make it interesting and do something a little different. And that's all there is to it. So like and subscribe if you haven't, and check out the next video. Thanks.